Radio Zindagi 1170 AM पे welcome listeners. Welcome to Shah Pirali Law Show brought to you by Shah Pirali Law Group. We have once again attorney Shah Pirali on air with us. He is the founder, president and managing attorney of the Shah Pirali Law Group, which is based here in Newark, headquartered here in Newark. He is a member of the State Bar of, he's a member of the American Immigration Association as well as the State Bar of California. He is a passionate advocate of human rights, civil rights, social action and social services. And he has a strong interest in and knowledge of the political and the legal system in the U.S. He formed his law group to work on the causes that he feels most ardently about. The law group focuses on immigration law with an emphasis on employment-based immigration, and he helps his clients all over the U.S. The offices are in Newark, San Francisco, and Washington, D.C., so that's why, either it's West Coast or East Coast, they can definitely help you. Pick up the phone and give them a call on 510-742-5887. The website for more information is piralilaw.com. That's PEERALLYLAW.com. लिसनर्स, अगर आप अभी बात करना चाहते हैं, कोई भी आपका सवाल होता है इमिग्रेशन को लेके, चाहे वो फैमिली बेस्ड हो या एम्प्लॉयमेंट बेस्ड हो या कोई भी इमिग्रेशन का केस है, आप अभी सवाल पूछ सकते हैं ड्यूरिंग द शो बाय कॉलिंग द स्टूडियो नंबर 510-657-1170. That's 510-657-1170. That's the studio number. So without any further delay, Attorney Shah, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Ira. Good morning to all the listeners, and thank you for a nice intro. And hopefully we'll have Sharif joining us a little bit later, talking about so many issues going on. And for anything I'm going to tell you today is my opinion. You should not act or refrain to act solely on information provided. You should contact an attorney if you have any questions. And of course, tomorrow it's Eid, and I wanted to wish everybody Eid Mubarak. And hopefully it will be tomorrow. So, and of course, so many things happening around the world, which is affecting us directly or indirectly. Yeah. For one, we have the pandemic, and now we have the unrest in Gaza and in the Middle East, and those will affect us also somehow. So just watch for that, and we might see a disturbance in the visa process for those who are transiting through Dubai, etc. And especially my heart goes to the people of Palestine who are really suffering, and especially Sharif is from there. His family is from Jerusalem, so it is really something that is close to him. So hopefully he'll join us, tell us a little bit how things are going on there. So without further ado, we're going to talk a little bit, of course, not a little bit, of course, about immigration here in the U.S. and a lot of things happening. For one, we are seeing... although one thing is surprising, I was expecting kind of a downfall in the H-1B applications. It seems like they got a lot of H-1B applications this year too, even though with the pandemic, which also kind of reflect what's happening in the U.S. For those who don't know, and we are getting into shortage of labor, so that might change the immigration rules soon. Because manual labor, we're going to be short of 1.5 million manual labor probably soon, and maybe we'll change a little bit like Canada, and but we don't know yet. We have to wait and see how things are unfolding. But until then, we have to stick to what we have, and what we have are all those options: EB1, EB2, H1B, you name it. And all I'm saying is, like, right now, we are going to see some changes, I think, because of this problem that we are having. And again, like, as you know, today we have the GOP who kicked out Liz Cheney, who actually kind of was, thanks to her actually, we were able to get Biden in, because they were making basically a plan for a coup, and it didn't. It is not something that many people are actually kind of surprised to hear, but the truth is the truth, and right now we are seeing this situation unfolding where she got kicked out for doing the right thing, and that really can't get me worried, because it seems like Trump is getting back his power, and we are going to be falling into a lot of issues related to him. So hopefully he won't be elected again. So people have to vote, although they are doing everything possible to get him to basically get him back. Plus, also the GOP is trying to regain the Senate at least. So people will have to work twice harder. So I'm inviting all the citizens, new citizens, please vote, whichever side you vote on, but please vote. It's very important, and hopefully you'll vote on the right side. So that's an important factor that will determine your future of you and your family, your parents, and that's another situation that we are seeing right now. Look at what's happening right now. I have a lot of people calling me. Unfortunately, I cannot help a lot trying to get out of India because of the situation.
That's right.
And, unfortunately, there's no real way out. And some people were routing through islands and then coming to the U.S. Like, for example, they were going to Maldives or to Mauritius to get it. But I think Maldives closed their doors today, and that's not going to be very helpful. So the best is to work it out there and try your best to make things happen there, because you coming here is a risk for you, plus a risk for the people when you come here. So people have to think how they should manage that, because it's not going to be it's going to be an easy task to make people come right now. And I know people are calling. I'm getting a lot of those. Hey, just get my parents here. I'm ready to pay so and so amount. But I don't work like that. I work in a way that goes by the law. Plus, also you have to consider that U.S. also is in a sanitary situation, and certain people are allowed to come. But let's see. I don't know if they have a quarantine right now. I didn't follow really, but immigration-wise, many of the visas are blocked, so you won't be able to come right now. Now, if you are trying to go for stamping, and you have to go try your best, talk to an attorney. You can talk to us, and let us see if we can get you your visa inside the U.S. under extraordinary circumstances instead of you traveling to India. Because if you travel there, you won't come back. Not right now. It's very, very difficult, especially if you're on H-1B, etc., etc. So be very careful on that, because a lot of people seem not to understand what is happening. And it's not also not seem to understand. Many of them are also kind of, how to put it, many are just trying to put things in perspective and think, okay, maybe it's not happening that bad there or something, or they're missing their parents, or they lost one of their close relative and they want to go. I understand that, but you going, you're putting a lot of people in danger, including yourself, including your family, and also other people who live in the United States when you come back. So be very careful before you make a move. It's no longer just traveling now. It's traveling with a virus in a pandemic, and we don't know really how things are unfolding in India, because we don't have the information we're getting is mostly political. I'm not really getting medical stuff. Maybe you know more about that, or you can tell me what's going on there, because I don't really have relatives in India, so I don't know what's going on really.
Well, things are crazy. Things are crazy. You have both sides of people who are saying, okay, whatever media is reporting is there's one part that says it's exaggerated. Then the other part, of course, is that whatever you see in the media is not even 10% of it. The situation is really bad. So yes, avoiding travel to India from India, that's pretty impossible right now. But even, any kind of travel should be avoided right now. In fact, there's this new disease which has started over there. That's black fungus. So there's,
Yes.
There's this COVID-19 and black fungus going on. It is crazy. You have to be careful. And like you said, Attorney Shah, right, that people come to you. They still call you and I'd say, okay, we'll give you any amount of money. Just get us out of here, or, just fix our visa issues. Well, paying you or, paying your fees doesn't really pay or take care of the embassies or the consulates which are closed over there. They won't really open up, and the borders won't open up. There's not really anything that anybody can do, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then I understand, people are really, this is one thing with the way we see things. we always try to find some kind of other route. But the truth is that if you leave a place when there's a pandemic, you are not only put yourself in danger, but you're putting others in danger. So a lot of people have to think about that. And if you come, make sure that you are secluding yourself in a way that you don't infect other people. That's very, very important. And I don't know if right now it's mandatory in California to do that, but ultimately I think this is going to happen because
I'm not even sure if it's mandatory to quarantine anywhere in the US anymore. Because all these countries, and you were right, people have been coming from Paris, or not really coming, but routing themselves to come through Paris, through Mauritius, through Maldives, just take a holiday over there, do your quarantine, and then come to US. That itself is, that is also not really possible anymore, and in a good way, right? Like Australians, they have been facing so much problem with their own citizens are not able to travel. In fact, there was this news that I read that somebody actually tried to dig a tunnel and all those things, but of course they got caught and could not do much. Which reminds me, Tanisha, there's this news, I think it was yesterday or it was still today, about this senator who's introduced a bill which will allow the local police to enforce immigration laws. Now, do you think it's going to be throughout? Is that going to have any impact? Do you see any pros and cons? Are you aware of that?
I don't know if they introduced it, but most of the time they cannot really enforce it.
It's a bill right now.
Yeah, it's a bill, but I don't think it will really come through because even if it goes through, it will be knocked down by the court because the way it works when it comes to immigration, there is a very fine demarcation. However, in the past, just to let people know, when I was during the time of Bush administration, when after September 11, what they will do, they will deputize officers to work for immigration. And that's one thing that they have done in the past. And also there were lawsuits and that. Ultimately, many police unit officers refused to do it. And they ultimately went to court and they won. They said they cannot because it kind of kills their relationship with the community. And this is not something they are willing to do. But again, things have changed a lot. You know that, right? In the past 2 years with the COVID, it seems like we entered in a martial law kind of situation. Luckily, we don't have a situation where we stand basically like before, but at the same time, with the COVID and we had plus Trump's kind of influence, a lot of them are taking advantage of that and saying, oh, we need to push for this and for that. But I didn't see really what was proposed, but ultimately most of the time they get knocked down by the court because they go against the principles of separation. So we don't really want the police to do the work of the federal government. Having said that, they have done it before by deputizing certain officers, saying that, hey, this officer will... Arizona tried to pass a law for themselves. Actually, it went through in Arizona, but it ended up getting knocked out. And I have a nice anecdote on that because I started the radio show because of that law.
Okay.
I wanted to discuss about it, and that's how I got into radio show because I wanted to tell people they should not be abiding by this, etc., etc. And ultimately, we started getting that situation of we ultimately got our radio show started. So that's one thing that we might be seeing. And again, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to call our office, 510-742-5887, and the radio number is, I'll let you give the radio number so that I don't mess it up.
The radio number is 510-657-1170. That's 510-657-1170. That's the studio number. Listeners, आप अभी फोन करके बात कर सकते हैं अटॉर्नी शापिर अली से. अटॉर्नी शरीफ will also join in some time. आपको कोई भी सवाल होता है इमिग्रेशन का, चाहे वो एम्प्लॉयमेंट बेस्ड हो, चाहे वो फैमिली बेस्ड हो, किसी भी तरह का, आप फोन जरूर कीजिए 510-657-1170 पर. लेकिन अगर आप बात करना चाहते हैं अटॉर्नी शाह से या उनकी टीम से आफ्टर द शो टू डिस्कस योर केस कॉन्फिडेंशियली, you can call them on the office number to make an appointment. Call even right now as we speak. Number है 510-742-5887. That's 510-742-5887. 5887 and the website is piralilaw.com. Attorney Sharif, why don't you continue, and meanwhile I will try to get Attorney Sharif on air with us.
Great. Thank you so much, Ira. So we're going to talk a little bit about the approval notice because there are a lot of delays, a lot of people getting affected. We are seeing a lot of people telling me, okay, I'm losing my job, I'm losing this and that. There are a few ways you can try to expedite them. For one, you contact the USCIS. You let them know that you want to expedite the case, and you will have to give some kind of persuasive argument. For example, if you have national interest or your major issues coming up, so they might expedite it. And another way is also to, not another way, in parallel of that, what we are recommending people to do, contact your local congressman and see if they can push the case for you. And just to let people know, we are starting to see approvals, and approvals are coming, and they will, so they will actually start issuing. And then one good news is that it seems that they have removed the fingerprint notice, fingerprint for H4, etc., which is going to alleviate the whole system, because that's one of the things that was delaying all those cases. So hopefully once this is applied, we're going to start seeing stuff coming, including EADs, etc., etc. So good news are coming, but we have the COVID in our back door, and that's causing a lot of problems, including people having to go to India especially, and also for stamping, can you go to a third-party country? Unfortunately, third-party countries are shutting down too. For example, people used to be able to go to Canada to get a stamping on their visa. That's closed pretty much unless you are a Canadian PR or you are a Canadian citizen. So it is important that you understand that we are in a situation where everybody wants to close the door, and actually right now going to Canada is not a good idea. Now for Mexico, so for Mexico it is a situation that we are seeing a lot of people trying to get the stamping from Mexico, but the truth is Mexico will usually not allow H-1B stamping. So it is a situation where people get frustrated. So I recommend that if you want to go to Mexico, the one that you can do probably is what we call H4 stamping. They might allow that. F1, they might allow that. But the rest, H1B, etc., L1, they might not allow. So be careful on that. And we are in a situation right now that we cannot take chances also with traveling. So one solution is to try to change it inside the U.S. And trying to change it inside the U.S. means what you can do is try to do what we call a non-proton. What they also know as NPT. And also what it does, it will actually go ahead and can revive you even if you go out of status. And in this case, what I will recommend, if you're doing that, you contact an attorney who's a little bit experienced in that, and we can help you. You can call our office, 510-742-5887. We can work on that. A lot of cases where people have fallen out of status, for example, even B1, B2, and they cannot go back right now with the situation in India, etc., we are able to kind of revive the whole situation for them. So I highly recommend that people are make sure you talk to an attorney before you make any move, because what happens is that we are seeing, unfortunately, a lot of people panicking because they have to go for stamping because of the situation. They went out of status and they cannot go. And if they go, their life is in danger. So in those cases, we might be able to file the NPT for them and actually get them an approval without having to leave. It doesn't work all the time, but hopefully it will work because we have extraordinary circumstances going on. Ira, I don't know if is Sharif there?
No, he hasn't joined yet.
Okay. So we'll continue on that.
Mm-hmm.
Any question on that, Ira, on the situation of people having to go for stamping?
No, Tanisha, you continue. I have been trying to get Attorney Sharif on air.
Okay, perfect. So I thought you had some kind of questions on that. But let's go ahead and talk a little bit about now other situations we are seeing, students, a lot of students are getting stuck. And what happens to the school? And what are they going to be able to get an I-20, but now they cannot get a stamping and their classes are starting? What do they do next? Well, one of the things that we are hoping is that the school will have deference on this and try to revalidate those I-20 and work with the State Department also will work with our clients on this. So unfortunately, we don't have really any kind of information at this point what they will. All we know is that they closed it, so that's it. I think Sharif is there. Sharif,
yes, he
are
is.
You there?
Yes. Hey, how are you doing? Eid Mubarak.
I'm doing well. Eid Mubarak too. So you're celebrating today or tomorrow, right?
Oh no, we're probably tomorrow.
Tomorrow, exactly.
Tomorrow.
So, yeah, Eid Mubarak. And I know I was talking about in the beginning of the show about the situation in Gaza. So our heart goes to all the people there. It's really sad what's going on. It's bad, actually. And I don't know how bad it is. I hope your family and everybody are doing okay there. And hopefully we see some kind of resolution, because it doesn't look like they're trying to even resolve anything. It's just like a full-fledged war there, right?
Yeah. You know, it's kind of been like a pressure cooker for quite some time, and then finally it exploded. So I think that's why everybody's just hearing about it now. But for those of us with family there and everything, we've known for a while that the restrictions and the abuse and the oppression, against the Palestinian people is just too much to bear. And, that's
exactly.
The world has always stood with the Palestinians, but a lot of the propaganda and brainwashing has been going on, for the more recent period, so people kind of forgot that. But if you, go back in history, the non-aligned movement, and, people like Gandhi and, even other, leaders throughout the world were always very, very supportive of the Palestinian cause. So, we just ask everybody to, think about the people who are being oppressed and who's doing the oppression, because, sometimes the media will have you siding with the oppressors. And I think that's, especially in America, you see a one-sided version of events. So, definitely things are really bad, but we're always keeping the faith, and, it's part of our fate and destiny to be on the front lines of, defending the holy places and all that. So it's also a great honor as well.
Exactly, yeah. And the truth is that this time I think a lot of people are seeing the different angle. I see it on the social media. It's no longer like this blanket support for Israel, one side. It's pretty much kind of balanced, although the mainstream are still there, but with the social media, things are changing. And I hope this will put pressure on Netanyahu, because this is one of those guys that really freaks me out. He's one of those Trump. He even built a memorial, or even a town, they call it Trump there, right? And I don't know how
exactly.
So it's the same kind of, we are talking about a bunch of people who do that, and I'm not going to kind of keep my words there saying, oh no, I have to be, because I'm American, I have to do it this way. No, because I know most Americans I spoke, they're not very interested in supporting them, but the truth is that the lobby is so strong, and now we are seeing all those problems happening. But hopefully we'll see some resolution. Let's go back now to immigration. How's it going there? I heard you got some approvals there. So
yeah, absolutely. It's going really great. Things are definitely, going in the right direction with the adjudicators giving a more fair hearing to a lot of our cases. So we're pretty happy about that, and we're seeing, lots of good traction with EB-1A, a national interest waiver. A lot of people are getting on O-1A, and I think that's a really good strategy, particularly for people who were out of work during the, H-4 delays, and they have not gotten their EAD. While your spouse may have a H-1B, we can kind of put you on an O-1A, and that's kind of a double benefit because it allows you to work, so just to back it up a little bit, an O-1A is a non-immigrant visa for individuals who have extraordinary ability. It's similar to an EB-1A, which is also an immigrant visa for people of extraordinary ability, except that it is much easier to acquire the O-1A, the non-immigrant version. So you still have to meet the 3 requirements or 3 criteria that are there, but they definitely look upon an O-1A a lot more favorably. So, for example, because it is an employer-sponsored, non-immigrant visa, one of the criteria being that the individual performs in a critical or leading role for an organization that has a distinguished reputation is totally within the control of the employer. Because if the employer wants to really just push it hard in terms of, demonstrating that the individual is critical to their organization as they are petitioning an O&A for them, then it really is something that is pretty relatively easy to achieve. And the other one that is completely in the control of the employer is the salary. So, you can demonstrate that you command a high salary in comparison to your peers in the field. So basically, 2 of the criteria are totally under control of the employer. So when you're thinking about an O-1A, not everything is out of the control. I mean, you can completely, as long as you have the backing of your company and they're willing to petition your case and they're willing to play ball with you, then we can basically, I don't want to say guarantee, but we could almost guarantee that as long as the employer is backing you, then we can definitely get an O-1A done for you. So, those of you who are not able to work because you're, on a H-4 or, waiting for your H-4 to come through, and it just seems like you're waiting forever, this is definitely an option that you have. And anybody else, like, for example, if you are on an OPT or, you just for whatever reason you don't have an H-1B and you want to work with a particular employer, an O-1A is definitely an excellent option for you to pursue. The main thing that you need for an O-1A is to have the backing of your employer. That is really essential because it is a company-sponsored visa, and it does require the employer to, file the petition on your behalf. But definitely, if you have the backing of your employer, it makes it a lot easier. So, feel free to contact us, and we can give you an evaluation and let you know exactly what it's going to take. You're also going to want your HR to be on board so that they can kind of help with getting all the required documents going as well.
Yeah, this is an interesting part. The question I get on O-1A is that they are so stuck with all those checklists, and many people think they don't qualify when they do, and they don't really do in the sense of just going there and to dump everything there, it will work, but it requires some work behind it, and that's one of the things that a lot of people are always kind of backing off when it comes to O-1A because they don't feel like they qualify for it. Because, again, the same problem, they have been going by those old checklists, old stuff. So tell us a little bit about the new approach, Sharif, because that's important to tell people why they should use it, because it's open all the time, and they might qualify without even knowing they qualify, right?
Exactly. I think you center an O-1A on 2 main criteria, which is that you perform or have performed in a critical or leading role for an organization that has a distinguished reputation. That's number 1. If we can get that one, that's basically going to be a huge push, a huge advance for us. And then the other one is your salary. If you have a salary that is higher, even if you were previously on an H-1B, you probably have a prevailing wage, and you can kind of add to that or show exactly where you stand. Maybe the company can help you out with salary evidence. But those 2 areas, salary and critical role in terms of an O-1A are very, very important. And then, there's other ones that are possible. And a lot of people, they think about an O-1A or even an EB-1A as like a postdoctoral scholar visa. And that is not the case. You can make, for example, so one of the main criteria we think about is whether you have original contributions of major significance to the field of endeavor. And really, when we're thinking about this, we're not thinking about do you have original scholarly related contributions, I mean, that may be the case, and we do a lot of individuals who are researchers and scholars. But rather what we would look at is, do you have original business-related contributions of major significance? So if you have business-related contributions, if you've created a new database, if you've created a new, application or software, if you've introduced, some kind of hardware components, if, any of those kinds of situations, if you're working on a cloud tool that is, used to just kind of, do something, or automation, robotics, things of that nature, all of those kinds of areas are business-related contributions, and we can kind of highlight that. I mean, if we think about it, people are always wondering, how many, articles have I written, and how many citations do I have? Well, I think if you spent several years working on a, robotic automation process, then that would probably be more significant than writing a paper. So it's just about how it's presented to the officers. So I think I agree in the sense that if we're just taking a checklist approach, some of those things may not, come to the surface. But when you dig a little bit deeper and look at the holistic approach, then we could find many gems within an individual's profile that can be kind of, presented in a very persuasive manner to the officers, and ultimately, get the approval. And the other thing I want to say is that once you have an O1A in the bag, it makes filing for the EB1A much, much easier. So it's kind of like one step towards filing for your EB1A petition. So that is really a huge advantage that, we have in terms of getting an EB1A is to, is to have an O1A in the outset. Okay. And even in the adjudicator's manual, there's specific language there that states that an individual who has a previously approved O1A should be given deference, meaning should be given favorable consideration for their EB1A petition. So that's something that, we definitely take advantage of as well.
I'd like to remind all our listeners over here, I'm sorry to interrupt, but listeners, if you have any questions, we have about 20 more minutes to go. If you have any questions about immigration, you can call right now on 510-657-1170. That's the studio number, 510-657-1170. We may not think that we have any extraordinary ability or even the checklist or, small points that Attorney Sharif said, about the business and stuff. If we think that, okay, we don't qualify, I think it would be a great idea than to run out of options and, just pack your bags. So we should get in touch with Attorney Sharif and Attorney Shah over here. We have a caller. Let's see what they'd like to ask you. Oh, I think their call got dropped. But listener, if you're still there, if you're still listening, just call us right back on the same number, 510-657-1170. Hello, you're on air with Attorney Shah and Attorney Sharif.
Hello. Please don't hang up.
Oh, I did hang up. Okay. So, listeners, if you'd like to make an appointment, call the number 510-742-5887. Yes, let's continue.
Yes. So, Sharif, I was listening to the situation that we have right now is one of the things that a lot of people kind of got stuck into is that downgrade to EB3. And in their mind, they're still keeping their EB2, which is not really true. And now they're going to be stuck with EB3, and they might even qualify for EB1. So why not take advantage of that? So let's talk a little bit about that, because a lot of people are thinking EB3 will get current, they'll get their green card. I don't think it will happen. It was just something, like you said last time, to make some money for USCIS probably, and they went ahead and opened it. And now they're going to be stuck, although they have an EAD, ability to transfer the case, etc. They still will not get a green card. So EB1 is a good option, right?
Absolutely. I think that, in fact, one of the cases we just got approved this week had a similar situation. And I think almost every, over the past month, I mean, we've been doing a lot of interfiling requests because basically people who downgraded to EB3 and have already applied for their I-485 adjustment of status, have now, basically listened to our advice and filed in the EB1 category. And once they filed in the EB1 category and we got their case approved, they already had a pending I-485. However, that I-485 was not really going anywhere because it was in the EB3 category. So we would do an interfiling request and make sure that basically there are then, going to be some, benefits for them so that they can adjust status. So that's something that we've been doing quite successfully.
Exactly. And just to let people know what Sharif is talking about here, you file your I-485 adjustment of status with your EB3. We file your EB1, we get it approved. We take that I-485, we send it to the EB1, and you get your green card pretty much a lot faster than you will get, a lot faster than you will get on the EB3. So you don't have to refile the I-485 actually. We just have to transfer it. But for that, in order for it to happen, the I-140 for the EB1 has to be approved, right? So this is very, very important.
And then what's going to happen is you're going to shock your employer's attorneys. They're going to say, what? How did you do that? How do you have an EB1A approval when we downgraded you to EB3? Because they want to keep you under their control. But, we're trying to free you from that control.
That sounds like the beginning of a mutiny.
But the good thing is that, just to let people know, that EB1A doesn't require any involvement usually from the employer. So at the end of the day, it belongs to you, so you're not at the mercy of any employer. And that kind of bothers a lot of employers. Some employers are very happy. I should not say generalize for everybody, but some employers are not very happy about it because now you're in a position where you don't really need them. And that kind of bothers them, and the thing goes on. So ultimately, EB1 is a very good investment actually, because I've seen people who have come to us thinking that, okay, they already have their plan for 20 years and suddenly they get a green card. So it's a very, very good option. So they should take it. And tell us a little bit more about now on the situation. You said this week you got a couple of approvals, right? Were they all EB1 or were they national interest waivers also?
Oh, we also got national interest waiver as well, but the EB1 in particular were ones where we had individuals who downgraded back in the fall. And, we went ahead and filed their EB1, and those got approved, and now they're doing the interfiling request. So the kinds of cases that we're seeing are basically all business-related contribution cases. And that is essentially that the individual will be, working in generally an IT role, but we like to really specify the field of endeavor. That's one of the most important things that we do when we're going about an EB1A petition is, I ask somebody, for example, like, okay, what is your field? What is the area of work that you're involved in? And they'll say, well, I'm in IT or I'm in, software. That is not going to be successful for the EB1A because the EB1A is constantly asking you, what is your field of endeavor? If you think about it, the major requirement for an EB1A is that you have sustained a claim that is recognized in your field of endeavor. So the recognition needs to come within a specific field. So if your field is very broad, like software engineering or IT, it's going to be really, really, really hard to demonstrate that you are recognized as among the foremost experts within IT. So the way that, we like to help our clients succeed is to really narrow that field down. Because when you narrow down the field, then you are going to put yourself in a better position to be successful. So, for example, rather than say that, I'm a software engineer, you can say that I am for example, creating automated solutions or automating solutions related to, business processes in banking, for example. So within automation of banking business processes or finance business processes, I'm among the very best. You see a lot of cases now in financial technology, fintech. Those are very, very popular, and it seems like the government is, really still very kind of like favorable to those cases because of the huge economic impact and economic benefit that they have. So we are seeing kind of different areas where you'll have successful cases, but overall, what matters the most is that you narrow down the field. You don't want to have a very, very broad field. People make this mistake all the time. They come and they say, attorney, we got 3 criteria approved. They approved me for critical role. They approved me for salary. They approved me for judging the work of others, but they said that I did not make the final merits determination. And I look at their decision notice, and it always says something about basically that you did not demonstrate that you were at the highest percentage of your field. And when you look at what the classification they're requesting, it's saying that you've applied as a software engineer, or you've applied as a IT professional, and that is going to be detrimental to your case. So what you want to do is be very, very narrowly focused upon your case. And you could be in any field. I mean, I've shared this before. Like, for example, you could be, we had cases of people who were involved as Scrum Masters, but they were working in a very narrow area, such that they were at the highest level of their field because they were doing that work for the most important projects that were taking place at the time. And this was related to like Obamacare and healthcare. But these are the kinds of cases that are getting approved. Is you have to have a narrative. You have to tell a story that will satisfy the officer and give a compelling reason, not only that you meet 3 of the 10 criteria that are in the statute, but that in the overall sense, you are recognized as having reached the very highest level of your specific field. So that is really, really where the approvals come, is when you're at the highest level of your specific field of endeavor.
Exactly, and that's where basically we get in and kind of find this for you, because oftentimes people will not even find. They will be focusing mostly on what they're doing right now, and I'm doing this, I cannot get it. No, you don't have to get EB1 on the job what you're doing at this point. You might have something else you don't even know about, and that's where we come in and we do that assessment, right? Because EB1 doesn't have to be that specific job you're doing right now, right? And I think we have some examples of that, right? Can you give us some examples? We had a situation where people were working in this field, and then they find out that they can get an EB1 on something else, and they have the qualifications, right?
100%. That's a great, great point. And I have just a couple examples. I mean, one was even where an individual is working as a software engineer for a company, but we were able to get him approved as an artist because he was on the side doing the artistic work and putting his, artwork in different shows. This was also true of a sports person. But besides those examples, the reverse is also true. So, for example, you might have someone who has worked 10 or 15 years doing a specific kind of task, right? So an example of that would be someone who's working as an antenna engineer, right? Like they are working as an antenna engineer. This is their profession. It's their expertise. They have designed, antennas that work in remote areas and, very important kind of like electrical components. And, it prevents people from having to put themselves in danger because everything is becoming automated and all of this wonderful thing that they're doing in antenna engineering. But somehow, because of, usually a visa restriction or a need to maintain an H-1B or something, they take a different role, okay? So instead of working as an antenna engineer, they go into some kind of IT role, right? And now that they're in the IT role and they're not doing the antenna engineering, they think that they can no longer file EB1A, even though within the antenna engineering field, they were at a very, very high level and very, very successful. That is not true. You can apply based on what you've done in the past. So even if you did it in a different country and that when you came into the U.S., you were forced to do something else, that you can still apply. And this is true of EB1A. It's true of national interest waiver. I know so many stories, I think you know as well, of people who are highly educated in their home countries. They have PhDs or they have, medical doctors or whatever, major expertise that they have. But then somehow when they're in the U.S., they kind of get into a less prestigious role. They work just to survive and get by. So for those people, you can base your petition on whatever your profession was back in your home country. So this is, not only people from India, but all over the world, you find this to be true. And that is why, we also look at national interest waiver. So anybody that has a master's degree or 10 years of experience in a bachelor's degree can definitely qualify for national interest waiver, which is an EB2 self-petition. So whether it's those of you who may have downgraded to EB3 and no longer have your EB2 in place, this is something that you can do to keep your EB2 position while also having your EB3. Or for anyone who is born in a country outside of India and China, you can look at an EB2 national interest waiver as an immediate path to a green card. And it is, amazing in order to really just, skip the line and kind of get approved. And it's something that we've helped a lot of people with as well.
Indeed, and Sharif, just to let people know, this is Attorney Sharif with me. He handles all EB1 cases, investor visas, etc. in our Washington D.C. office, and Sharif has gladly joined us today. And tomorrow is Eid, so I know he's a little bit busy. But one thing you said, a lot of people always get the confusion. If we have an EB2 and then you have an EB1. And EB3, can all these go in parallel? The answer is kind of yes, but you will pick the EB1 usually because the EB1 will go faster.
Exactly. I actually have that exact case where an individual, did the downgrade to EB3. We filed his national interest waiver. Then while the national interest waiver was pending, we got his EB1A approved. And that is obviously because the EB1A allows for the premium processing, so we were able to get a decision within 2 weeks. His case was approved, whereas as of this point, the national interest waiver does not have premium processing. So even though we filed the national interest waiver earlier, it does take about 8 to 10 months to get approved. So, we were still kind of waiting to understand what was going on before we were able to file. So we got the EB1A approved while the national interest waiver is pending, and then, of course, they had an EB3 with the I-485 already filed, so we can just do the interfiling for that kind of case, and, it allows the individual to kind of succeed. And we've had a few of those cases, actually, not just one. And so, because that's what I call the all-of-the-above approach, okay? So you've downgraded to EB3 so that you could file your I-485. Good for you. That's excellent. Now we're going to file a national interest waiver under EB2 so that you can, in case the EB2 line becomes faster than the EB3 line, you will benefit from there. And we're also, since we prepared your EB2 national interest waiver, the same kind of evidence can be used for an EB1A petition. So you're kind of halfway down the line with your EB1A because you've already filed your NIW, so we can go ahead and complete the EB1A petition as well. So that is the all-of-the-above approach. That is what you need to secure yourself and your family and put yourself in a better position to succeed.
Exactly. And also what people also get worried about is that, okay, the company will get upset, they do an EB1, but most of the time they don't even know about that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're not under any obligation to inform your company that you're filing a self-petition. You do sometimes need help from individuals in the company, though, and that doesn't necessarily have to come from official channels. So, for example, if an individual works at, a company, let's say, take a big company like Cisco, it doesn't mean that they need to go and write an email to the HR and officially inform them that they are going to do an EB1A. They don't need to do that. What you can do is just work with your team, like maybe there's a VP that you're friendly with. Maybe there's a, executive director, or maybe, somebody even higher level within the organization that you can tap into as a resource to provide some kind of testimonial evidence or letters that, will support your case. Then you don't need to go through the official channels. Now, sometimes those people will say, oh, I have to take it to legal, I have to take it to HR, et cetera, et cetera. And that's fine. I mean, that's something you have to deal with. But for the most part, I would say, 8 out of 10 times, nobody, they just will agree to give you a letter, and they'll provide the letter themselves. They don't even need to go to their organization to get any kind of approval or any kind of heads up.
Exactly. So I think we have another. How many minutes we have, Ira, to finish? I'll have Sharif talk a little bit about the national interest waiver, because that's another interesting point, because you can use it for many things, including your I-140.
Mm-hmm.
So it is important you talk about that. 3 minutes, Sharif. Tell us
3 minutes, yes.
a little bit about national interest waiver, please.
Yeah, I mean, look, if anyone that's looking to do an EB-2. National interest waiver does not require an employer. That's the beauty. And it allows you, if you have a master's degree or a bachelor's degree plus 10 years of experience and one other criteria, to file directly without the employer. All you need to demonstrate is, number one, that you work in an area of national importance that requires substantial merit. So the focus of that requirement is not on you and your individual work and what you do on a daily basis. It's about the field of endeavor, the area of work that you're involved in, and how that benefits U.S. interests. So if you're in a security-related profession, right, then that is something that is definitely of national importance and requires substantial merit. The second requirement is that you are well-positioned to advance your field of endeavor. That you are well-positioned to advance your field. Here, the focus is all on you, your education, your qualification, your experience, your business contribution, whether you've worked in an essential role at an organization, whether you have been asked to review and judge the work of others. So all of those kind of factors start to weigh in regarding whether you are well-positioned to advance your field. But note that with a national interest waiver, the requirement is that you are well-positioned to advance your field. That is a lot easier to meet than whether you have sustained a claim that is recognized in your field. So there's a big difference between a national interest waiver and an EB-1A in terms of, getting approved. So the national interest waiver is a much easier case to make. Then the last requirement is that you are basically passing the balance test. And the balance test is balancing the interest that the government has in having individuals go through the PERM labor certification process versus having them, get a national interest waiver because they work in an area of national importance and they're well positioned to advance that endeavor. And one great way to demonstrate the balance test, because you want to show that you're not going to harm U.S. workers, is to show that your role is going to create jobs, or that you're going to maybe start your own business, so you could have a business plan. So those are kind of effective ways to go around that balance test. And ultimately, just call our office. I think Ira is going to share the number.
Yes. And
set up a consultation, and we will help you. We will help guide you and make sure that you're in a best qualify for either national interest waiver, an EB-1A, an O-1A, or any other criteria that may qualify.
Well, absolutely.
Thank you so much, Sharif. Take care. Thank you, Ira.
That does bring us to the end of our show. Thank you very much for being here, Attorney Shah and Attorney Sharif. Listeners, remember to call their office number 510-742-5887 or log on to the website puralilaw.com. That's PEERALLYLAW.com. Stay tuned to Radio Zindagi.